Now that Jingliu's banner has been here for a minute, and I've already made the guide of course, but today we are going to move on from Jingliu and talk about Topaz and Numby. So I'm very excited for this character for sure. I think this is going to bring forth a very different type of team building coming to Honkai Star Rail. We are usually in our hyper carry meta type of team where it's just the one DPS that you want to do damage, and then is the support units, and then is the one sustain. That is basically the gist of how the teams are at the current moment. But with Topaz and Numby, I do see a shift in team building, and not only that, I do want to talk about her value, especially because of how volatile it's going to be at the start of the game or whenever she releases up until the future of Honkai Star Rail. I do want to say that Topaz at the current moment doesn't look so well, and I'm not gonna lie, and we don't know a lot about her kit regards to the scalings or how certain things go in specific, but we do know enough from the official live stream about how her kit works, and what we've known already through the live stream. It just seems right now with all the units we have in the game that we're not going to have a lot of value coming out of Topaz's kit, and I'm going to tell you why. Now let's go ahead and start talking about the two characters that are by far going to get the highest amount of value with Topaz and Numby, and that is by far going to be Clara and Himeko. Now if we don't know already, Topaz and Numby is going to inflict the debuff on the enemy that is going to allow them to take more damage from follow-up attacks specifically. So not really any other type of damage, is just follow-up attacks, and it's only for one target. Now this can be really nice when it comes to using Topaz and Numby, because having the ultimate up is going to allow you to do a fat ton of damage to that type of enemy. And then also using the skill, you're also going to be doing damage to that enemy and also relocating the proof of dead state if you want to bring it to another character. Now the reason why Himeko and Clara are going to get a high amount of value from having Topaz and Numby on the team, and which is really great, that we are going to be seeing a sub DPS type of team building with these two characters that I think haven't had a spotlight on them for a very long time. Himeko, by far one of the most slept on units when it comes to how much she can provide and how much shield breaking, how much AoE damage that she possibly has, and the free damage you get from her follow-up attack with just breaking shields. There is a lot to see from Himeko, and when Topaz comes out, I cannot wait to see people try her out, use her, and see how great Himeko actually is. And then another character that I think at the very start of the game did shine a little bit, but then everyone forgot about her, is Clara. Clara overall is a very great unit, especially as a tank, as a sub DPS, because she does have a lot of different avenues in doing that DPS, whether it be the full wave skill or it be the follow-up attacks or the counters that she gets when characters attack her. There's a lot of really cool things that come from Clara and Himeko, but especially because of Topaz with the follow-up attacks, these two characters by far are going to have some of the hardest hitting follow-up attacks, and if it does hit it and it does connect to the enemy that has proof of death, they're going to be doing a fat ton of damage. Clara by far is going to do a fat ton of damage, especially if she has her ultimate up. You're going to be doing a lot of extra damage on top of Savrog's enhanced counter, and that's just going to be overall madness when it comes to the amount of damage you're going to be getting out of that buff right there. And then you also have Clara's overall raw damage. There's just a lot of things to factor in when having Clara and Topaz together. And then Himeko, she's actually going to be able to 100% use the follow-up attack buff, because with her follow-up attack it does hit the full wave of enemies, and it's going to be overall very great just to be able to utilize Topaz's buff, which is only one target. Now talking about the rest of the follow-up attack characters in the game, this is why I think at the current moment for Topaz and Numby, it isn't looking so well for them in the amount of characters that can actually use her right now. As I said, Clara, Himeko, these are the two characters that are mainly going to benefit from them, but I do want to take Clara off this list a little bit, just because I do want to say that Himeko is the only one for sure 100% that's going to get a fat ton of value with how much damage she's going to be doing with her follow-up attack, and it also hits the full wave, so that means that you're guaranteed to hit whoever has the proof of death on them, and you do enough damage to make it worthwhile of hitting them with that debuff. Now talking about all the characters with the follow-up attacks, this is where it gets annoying, and this is why I think Topaz right now isn't going to be the same Topaz we see in the far future. Because with the follow-up attack characters we have now, which are Yanqing, Blade, Jingyuin, Qingchui, Clara, Herda, Kafka, and Himeko, a lot of these characters don't have consistent follow-up attacks or don't have targeted follow-up attacks. Yanqing, he has a fixed chance to be able to do his follow-up attack off of his skill, and with that being said, this doesn't mean you're going to get it off all the time. It is directed to the unit that you skilled on, but you're not guaranteed to get that follow-up attack when you use Yanqing. For Blade, it is going to take you a while to get your follow-up attack, and you do have to get those 5 stacks to actually do the full wave follow-up attack. So yes, he can use that buff on the enemy that has proof of debt, but it is going to take him a long time, and it's just not going to be overall a good amount of value when it comes to being able to follow up attack consistently to be able to use enough of that buff to make it worthwhile. Jing Yuan as well, he has RNG when it comes to his lightning lore, and his lightning lore also takes a very long time to come out, just like Blade. So another character that is not going to be by far one of the best characters to go with Topaz. Of course, there are scenarios, and I want to bring this back really quickly before people get confused. There are going to be scenarios where you're guaranteed to get all of your follow-up attacks on the one character, whether it be maybe just adjacent hitting, so there's only 3 enemies on the field. You're always going to hit those characters, so you're good. Same thing with a single target scenario. If that character has proof of dead on them and then you have your follow-up attacks happening like Jing Yuan, yes, you're going to get a fat ton of extra damage when it goes to using Topaz on the team. So yes, there are certain scenarios where it's going to happen, but I am talking about more of an AoE situation, because as we all know, in Swarm Disaster or in MOC, they like to spawn in ads, they like to bring in ads, they like to have a full wave of enemies when it comes to having them in the harder stages of content. So I'm trying to make it to where, you know, there's the most average type of enemies that are going to be on the field, and that's going to be around 4 to 5 if you let the boss bring out the ads of what it wants. But going again, Jing Yuan, Blade, Yanqing currently don't have very consistent or very quick follow-up attacks to come out. With Qing Cui, she actually needs an Eidolon to get her follow-up attack, and it's only a 24% fixed chance, which again, not being the best and most consistent when using your follow-up attack. For Clara, you're also not able to get your follow-up attack easily out because you have to have that character with proof of debt, which is going to hit you and it has to hit Clara. Then you get to counter and use that proof of debt. Now this is a little bit easier once you pop your ultimate, because you will be getting taunt, but it's still not guaranteed, and you also have to hope for that character to not only hit Clara, but also be able to have the proof of debt state on them as well. It's not 100% the most consistent. Herda, you have to wait till they get to 50% HP to be able to do the follow-up attack, and then her follow-up attack will not hit as hard if you don't sync up a certain amount of enemies with the 50% threshold, so that you're able to spin multiple times and get a lot of value out of that buff. And then for Kafka, she also has a directed follow-up attack, but this follow-up attack does not do enough damage to merit having Topaz on the team, just to buff up that follow-up attack damage that Kafka is going to give. This is why at the current moment, I do think that Topaz right now in Honkai Star Rail, when she releases, isn't going to be the same one we see in the future. Because right now we don't have a lot of great follow-up attack units, and I'm not talking about damage, I'm talking about more on the consistent and more on the how many times can I get a follow-up attack off on the turn. A lot of these characters either take multiple turns to get their follow-up attack, or it's a fixed chance and not consistent, or it just doesn't do enough damage to merit having Topaz on the team. And this is why I think later on in the future, when we get more follow-up attack characters, when we get more consistent follow-up attack characters, when we get characters that can direct their follow-up attack to a certain character, like how Qing Cui and also Yanqing can do it, but on a consistent basis and a fast enough basis, then we're going to see teams where Topaz is going to shine and be an absolute monster, because not only is she buffing their damage, she's also doing her own damage as well. And with other characters being able to follow up attack as consistently, this is going to make sure that Numby is pushed to the top of the list, and then he's able to do his attack. Same thing with the ultimate, you're going to be able to have the follow-up attacks and basic actions, be able to buff up Numby and put him into the top of the list. There's a lot of better scenarios and a lot of better teams that are going to be coming out with Topaz. So right now, Topaz is by far going to be one of the harder investment units for sure, especially a character like Kafka. Right now, she isn't in the best state. She is still a very good unit, but Kafka doesn't have the best teammates to be able to run the absolutely god dot team right now. She only has Luca, she has Guanifin coming out, which I think that's going to be an absolutely amazing character, and then you have Sampo. There's not really a lot of options when it comes to being able to use a dot character with Kafka, and we all know there's going to be 5-star dot characters in the future some way, somehow, or some character is going to come out in the future with dot mechanics as a 5-star, and that's going to be, of course, when Kafka gets her resurgence, when she's going to be able to get more value out of her being on a team. That's when we're going to see some Kafka value go up more than what we have her at right now, with no other teammates besides the 4 stars. And the same thing's gonna happen with Topaz. Eventually we're gonna get another 5-star or we might even get lucky and get a 4-star that is able to follow up attack consistently and is directed. And then guess what? Now we have Topaz is being able to buff a unit or being able to give enough damage to that unit to merit her being on the team. And not only that, she gets to do her own damage while she's on the team as well. So there's a lot of really cool things that can come out of Topaz being in the game. I do think she's still going to be a very strong character for sure. And I think she is more of a long run unit than at the present moment, which isn't too bad in all honesty. I do think she's going to enable a fat ton of teams in the future. And of course, I do think she's still going to get play with Clara and with Himeko very soon. We're going to see a lot of people building Clara. We're going to see a lot of people building Himeko. I'm very excited. But right now, as I said before, she's more of an investment type unit with being able to open routes to other teams in the future. Same with Kafka, same premise where later on they're going to get more value and they're going to be able to have their own team center around them, while, you know, other units like Dan Heng, Sele, Blade, they're still absolutely amazing units, but they're not going to be opening up extra teams. They're kind of stuck in that hyper carry, that main DPS situation. Not really Blade, because he has his own thing with his like no skill point thing. But for characters like Sele, characters like Imbibitor Lune, those characters are going to be, you know, only hyper carry type of teams, while characters like Kafka, Topaz, Jingliu, and Blade, these characters are going to be able to mix and match what comes to a role on a team, and it's going to be super exciting to look at. So other than that, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what y'all guys think about Topaz and Numby. Is she going to be fire at the start? Is she going to be fire later? If you're going to pull for her, all that type of stuff, or if you're just excited for Gonaifen, because I think she's going to be a really cool character too. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. See you on the next one, and peace.